This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish.
Okay, guys, so I have some good, if not great, news for you. It's been a very somber, difficult news cycle ever since Charlie Kirk was assassinated on Wednesday of last week. But today, or overnight, we got the news that Jimmy Kimmel's show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, has been indefinitely suspended from ABC. Okay, and I want to show you the monologue that got him in hot water before we do anything else.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger-pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Okay, was that joke really worth applause? I mean, I understand that the Jimmy Kimmel Live audience is probably, you know, lobotomized, at least metaphorically, if not literally. But come on, that joke gets like a standing ovation. I don't know. This is why I could never understand why Jimmy Kimmel was still on the air. And not just Jimmy Kimmel, for that matter. Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, the British one. Well, both of them. Wait, there's the big British one and there's the little British one. John Oliver is the little one. And no, I can't remember the name, but you know who I'm talking about, right? The fat British guy. Anyway, I mean, none of them are very funny. They make jokes, but it's always in an effort to paper over, you know, these very ham-fisted talking points, which, of course, until Trump was reelected and I guess, you know, also accepting the first Trump administration, these talking points were pretty much always in line with state propaganda. I mean, it was like they looked at the NIH website and then they kind of just copied down the guidance and told it with a joking intonation. But anyway, the first part of that monologue is what's getting him in trouble, because he says that the MAGA gang is desperately trying to portray the shooter as anyone but one of their own. People don't have to try very hard. I don't think people are you know, desperately grasping at straws here. I mean, we have writing on the bullet casings which says, "Hey fascist, catch." Okay, so that suggests something. And we have the shooter's own mother saying, you know, my son was becoming increasingly pro-gay, pro-trans, left-wing. We have alleged conversations between Robinson and other people where he said, you know, I really don't like Charlie Kirk. I think he's hateful. We have the fact that Tyler Robinson, who's alleged to have murdered Charlie Kirk, is dating a woman with a penis. And of course, by that I mean he was dating a man. So in any case, ABC reportedly was getting some pressure from the FCC over these Kimmel comments, and the show was suspended. So I want to go now to my favorite panel in the world, which is whatever Abby Phillip is doing on CNN. Because they, you know, had some debate over the suspension.
You use the phrase propaganda, Professor, and I just have to ask you, what do you consider what Jimmy Kimmel was doing every night, or what Stephen Colbert was doing by having on only Democratic guests? Jimmy Kimmel Monday night flat lied about the shooter. Back in the spring, he egged his audience on in cheering on the violence against and wanting, kind of wishing, I think, the downfall of a publicly traded company, Tesla. Do you consider that to be propaganda? Is it good for a business?
Do you consider that to be free speech, Scott?
You use the phrase propaganda.
I'm asking you. You used the words free speech before. Do you consider that free speech?
I consider it to be speech, and he's obviously free to say it.
Will you defend that speech in this country that will defend to the death the speech of others. Will you defend Jimmy Kimmel's speech?
Do I defend Jimmy Kimmel going on television and saying that a shooter from the left?
Do you defend his right to do so?
He has a right to do so, but he does not have a right to have a television show where he lies his ass off to the American people and attacks this country on a nightly basis.
Whoa. Hold on.
Scott, but I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know here. You sometimes offend people. I hear about it on the socials. Do you think that you should then be held to the same standard that you're asking for, that if someone says that you're offensive, that you're not doing civic discourse, that CNN should kick you off?
Wait a minute. You are telling me that Scott Jennings offends people. Next thing you know, they're going to be telling me that I've offended someone before. And, I don't know. That'd be very troubling. No, but there's such an obvious hypocrisy here that it almost feels cheesy to call out, right? Because for many years, people were canceled, i.e. fired, life ruined, socially isolated for doing much less than what Jimmy Kimmel did. And you could also point to really high-profile firings, so Roseanne Barr, Gina Carano, and the left kind of universally cheered that as the just consequences of those people's speech. And yes, no one has a right to a TV show, so obviously ABC is entitled to do whatever they want, and if they're getting a lot of backlash, and they think that Kimmel is making them look bad, then they are entitled to, and maybe even obligated to, for the sake of their company, canon, get rid of him. There's probably a bigger debate to be had about the role that the FCC played in it, because that's actually direct government pressure. But the hypothetical that these guys are setting up and the position they're putting themselves in as these free speech warriors is totally absurd when President Donald Trump was deplatformed from Twitter in 2021. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. They are trying to sell us something that is just totally unbelievable. No one believes that the left cares about the principle of free speech, or honestly, really any principle. I think their main thing is winning and mutilating children, and what else? Filling up the country with people from other places. So those seem to be the principles that they're sticking behind. Anything else is basically just a convenient disguise for them to wear while they attempt their ultimate political ends.
I'm worried about you and that happening to you in the present regime, but I am worried about other people in this building.
Two things. We don't fall under the same statutory regime. A. B. I expect to get fired every day. This is a tough business. And if I were Jimmy Kimmel, I'm surprised that a guy who once wore blackface and caused large-breasted women to jump on trampolines lasted this long in the media business to begin with. He was long past his sell date, and the fact that he couldn't realize that and was going down this road of partisan hackery, being unfunny and demonizing this country.
Hold on. Don't redeem him all at once, Mr. Jennings. I mean, transgressive racial comedy and objectifying women, I don't see the issue. Yeah, so Jimmy Kimmel did have a start as one of these basically, raunchy bro comedy kind of guys. And it's actually an interesting point to bring up because he really pulled up the ladder behind him. And you see a lot of older millennials kind of do this, older left-wing millennials, where they enjoyed being transgressive and making jokes and basically being a normal person when they were young. And there were less cameras, they didn't have, iPhones, and so they could get away with all this stuff and none of it is recorded. And then when they came into adulthood, they decided that all this stuff was very evil. And if you had ever said something sort of rude, even as a joke, about one of the protected classes, you were persona non grata. You were to be totally exiled from society. So, that adds to kind of my pleasure in the whole Kimmel thing. But mostly it's because I care about the American people. And I don't think that anyone should have to be subjected to watching Jimmy Kimmel. Even if they think that they are making that choice out of their own free will, I think it really calls into question their judgment, and I don't think it's good for them. And that last part is kind of serious, because Jimmy Kimmel's monologues, in the vein of, what he got canceled for, really do seem intended to rile up his audience of older people. And you see Rachel Maddow do the same thing, where they're basically trying to scare people. And I think that they know that, they're not telling the entire truth and that they're distorting things. So I'm happy to see him go. I hope it's permanent, but let me know what you think in the comments section below. Give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.